Okay, so here's the setup here for the indoor plants. I might show this first, so we'll make this the intro. So today I'm gonna take you through a water with me. I'm gonna water the succulents here that need watering. We're gonna talk about, when to water, when not to water. And I'm gonna show you everything I do, my setup, my tools for watering, and a succulent care. Now, I do have a few edible plants here. I'm not gonna talk about those today. I also have this thing. I forgot to put this one in the video. This one needs water, I think. This needs some maintenance. I just forgot to put it in the video. We'll save that for another day because it's already very, very long. But anyway, I wanted to show you how much light. There's a ton of light. I have this big window, this, and then we have 2 skylights. So this is a very bright room. If you have less light than this, it's good for, I would say good for aloes, but other succulents may struggle. So these are my huge aloes that I don't think need water today. Well, yeah, I'll probably, what I do, the discard will probably go, like the water in my containers that I'm using today to water will get poured into the aloe if I think they need it. I think this could probably withstand some watering. You want to be very careful. Yeah, it's kind of, so let's look at the other ones. So this aloe here, check the leaves. I always check the leaves. This one seems okay. I tend to just always give this one the last little bit of water. It could probably withstand it because there's so many in one container. And then this one I had talked about, kind of on the struggle bus from transplant. And then this is my biggest one. And this had started as a $5 plant. It was already large, but now it's like extra, extra large. And I had transplanted it recently and it has like all this new growth coming in. This one, no, I wouldn't water this one at all. If these start to feel like fat and jelly-like, then you overdid it. Firm is good, like a bendy, squishy. It's like a different kind of squish, and that's what's hard to describe, what you want to look for in the leaves for watering. If it's like jello, like you can kind of tell the cells are at maximum capacity of water, then don't water. If it's like dehydrated type of squish, like the leaves are not full of water, then you do want to water. So I would definitely not water that one at all. Okay, today we're going to be talking about succulent plant care. So this is another one of my hobbies. I kind of started this last year. I had started it last winter because I'm really into gardening, but I wanted something to do in the winter indoors that was plant related. So I kind of started with the succulents. And today I'm just going to talk about watering and just getting started and basic care and just, it's really an easy hobby. Anybody can get into it, but there is a lot of misinformation about the watering and all of that. So in this instance, I have a bunch of succulents in a dish. And this is what I see people do a lot. And it is great. You can start them from cuttings. You can take cuttings. You can stick them in anywhere. You can move them around. You can use leaves to propagate them. But the thing is the different plants need different amounts of water. So that can get a little tricky. So I'm going to kind of show you what maybe not to do. And the thing that I do use as a tool, but I don't recommend relying on is one of these, water meters. I'm not sure if it's going to work under the camera here. It might be too close. But when you stick this in here, you're going to be like, okay, it's very, very dry. It needs water. But the thing is, all of the plants here may need different amounts of water, and you know, they may have just absorbed plenty of water from the last watering. They may still not need water. Or some may be in like a desperate need for water. So what I kind of like to do is check the leaves of the plant. And because there's a lot of plants here, I would check the leaves and then I would just maybe water some directly. And what I use to water some of them directly is a syringe. So I would give water just directly to the base of those plants that seem to need it urgently. And I'm going to show you how I do that. And I'm also going to first go in and, you know, pick out the plants that, pick out all the dead leaves and stuff like that here. I might fast forward that part so it's quick. There we go. So the plant's in focus now since I removed the water meter. So I would go in with forceps like this and kind of remove. I could see this plant is like dead, but it's holding its root. Like it would just fall out. So I'm just going to pick off all the dead leaves. This is boring. I'm going to fast forward this part. It's one of those things that's boring, but it's relaxing. Kind of like with the jewelry organizing, I can kind of get in my zone with this. Now pick out dead leaves and leaves that seem to be affected by mildew. This I'm going to leave. It could grow. I don't know if it'll grow back. A lot of times stumps will grow, but we're going to take off these dead leaves and kind of just crunch them. Oh, and you can see here, I don't know if you can see it, here where leaves were taken off are more little plants growing right onto that, right on that plant. That's why succulents are so cool, because they can grow from cuttings, they can grow from leaf propagate. I'll leave this leaf. It looks reasonable. I don't think this is gonna sprout roots. Oh, does it have one? Hold on. I can't tell. I don't think so, but we'll leave it just in case. Anything that looks alive, you can leave because it may sprout roots and start another plant. That looks like probably not. So basically what I would do is just go in, any leaves that fall off, any plants that are just dead and not rooted into the soil, I would remove, and just kind of remove everything. Ooh. Obviously this has been neglected. Ooh, so we have a little plant here. So I'll give this some water. I'm gonna let that hydrate. I have some water, and then I'm gonna just stick it back in. Same with this one. This is how these little plants will grow from leaves, and I may have stuck some in here. I don't remember now. I'll let them hydrate for a minute, and then if they're well rooted, I'm not gonna pull them out, but those just fell out. So I'll let them absorb some water. Same with these. These might be too far gone. I don't know. I'll just throw them in here. So it's very fun. You don't have to like overthink it. Like it's not that serious. It's like you could just go in and take out dead leaves, dead plants, anything that looks sick. This looks a little sick. Like it looks a little mildewy. I'm on the fence about removing that. It is rooted. Same here. Here's some dead ones. You know, and they need a lot of air circulation, so you may find that they do better in like a larger space in your home. Like so I have another room downstairs with plants. This is my kitchen. And they're like, there's a lot of them are on the struggle bus. And a lot of plants that are just not doing well at all come spring. This one has roots. I'll let that hydrate a bit. Anything that looks alive, I may like allow to, like a plant with no roots isn't gonna do anything. It's not gonna absorb water. So I would just leave those leaves here. If they have obvious roots, you can let them absorb some water. All All right, and you can see the stump where I cut something has plants, little plants growing. There's like little plants tucked in here that I had just sort of tucked in that are growing. This leaf looks good. This might grow eventually. Some do better than others growing from cuttings. Anyways, you could literally sit here and pick out dead leaves, since I haven't done it in a long time, for quite the while. I mean, you could just leave them. But sometimes I think if there is a little bit of powdery mildew or whatever going on, you're gonna it's gonna kind of like spread more. But you can always just leave them in there too and see what happens, depending on, you know, your mindset and how low maintenance you want the hobby to be. Ooh, and then if you knock off living, like good living leaves, just leave those be, because those may take root. It's kind of good for that when you go in and do the maintenance, because it's kind of like you're propagating without even really trying. Now, these plants do need a lot of light. I have a very bright area in my kitchen here. Yeah, I think that is a little bit of powdery mildew, but I'll just have to keep an eye on that. So they seem to do okay. And sometimes some of this white is because I have sprayed with baking soda in the past, which can help if there's like a powdery mildew issue. All right, so let's jump into the watering conversation. So with succulents, it's really important, if their leaves are firm here, you don't want to water that. They have enough water. Look at this here. Yeah, it has water. This one has plenty of water. See how this is bending? This is an elephant bush. This always does this. So I think it just is like probably needs more water in general. I feel like there was another one. This one here, I'm not sure. This is like a jade, some type of jade, I believe. I would just add a little water just to the base of that particular plant. So hopefully you're not going to overwater, but you're going to give the plants that need it at least some water until you're going to like give this plant. Everything needs it at one point. You're going to give them like a deep water. But right now, most of these plants, like this, definitely, like this is going to die if you water this too much. Or really at all, because these leaves are firm. Literally, their cells, you give them too much water, their cells can only uptake so much water. They're gonna, this one could use some. You can tell it's rooted in there. Their cells are going to explode if you give them too much water. And then they turn yellow and the leaves will just fall off. And sometimes it can be a little bit hard to tell, but just get to know your plants. You kind of got to spend time caring for them, observing them, so you can kind of learn the difference between, okay, this plant doesn't need water. And also, this is another thing that's a little bit contrary, but what I've kind of found, this like mildew, whatever this is, this discoloration, again, it could be just baking soda, so I'm not gonna remove those from times I've sprayed it. I only ever see like disease, like dehydrated succulents start to have disease and pests, and usually other house plants too. Like a lot of times, you know, you're like being so careful not to water that your plants are actually dehydrated and quickly becoming susceptible to pest. All right, so let's look at some other ones. You can see most of this could use water, but I'm just not sure about this one. Probably, yeah. That's probably why it's on the struggle bus. Now, if anything gets gross and you're like, oh, this very obviously has a disease, I don't want to risk messing around, just cut it and the stump will grow back. You can see I've cut things here. I've cut things here. There's a leaf that's growing. I'm not sure how much you can see or how well like the zoom is. Let me see, there's gotta be like a stump in here that's grown. I don't remember now, but, oh, right here, there's like a stump that I literally chopped for whatever reason. Either it was too long and leggy or sick, and there's a new succulent growing there. So it's kind of just fun. You can keep this going forever. All right, let's look at another one. So here's a popular one. I could see some of the bottom leaves are yellowing and drying up. It's kind of a delicate plant. They call it like a bear claw. I have the tag, so I'll show it to you. Hopefully you can see that. I got this at a plant show. There is a plant show in Bristol, Connecticut that I like to go to. It's once a year. It's coming up, I think in April. I really don't think these Aeonium leaves will grow. I don't have luck with them, and I'm going to stick it in another plant just in case. And I could do another video on leaf propagation at some point. Anyways, we're going to pull all this yucky things up, and that leaf looks good. It can stay. So I would not assume, please, this is very light. There's no water. It's absolutely going to say dry on this. Do not water this though. Do not water this, okay? Look at these paws. They are firm. They are full of water. If you water this more, you will kill it. The cells are just going to burst. They can't take up any more water here. They're fat. You can tell these are fat. They're firm. There's no squish. Probably the lower leaves might have fell off because too much water. Anyways, this little cute one, I'm going to put this on something else. These little baby leaves, they don't grow. This is another one that doesn't grow great from leaves, but I will put it on another plant that I'll show you guys next. So you can see there's a very gritty mix. It's a terracotta thing. Like, a lot of people will just overwater these so fast. And I mean, don't get me wrong, they're gonna need water, but you have to water them thoroughly when they need it. This is the better one that you could see here. It's starting to squish a little bit, but yeah, no, nowhere's near where I would water this. You gotta get to know the plants. All right, let's grab that other one. This one, this one mystifies even me sometimes. This is an Aeonium. It loves to shed leaves, and I'm like always sometimes confused. Like, did I overwater this? Did I underwater this? What I think is, I mean, they're starting to squish, so it might need water. This is the one that confuses me. But this isn't one you see super often in like garden. Like I got these online. So anyways, I take off all the dead leaves. Take out the dead leaves. The soil looks wet, but let's see. I can tell nothing is like rotted or overwatered, like to the point of, so this is like the situation where I'm kind of unsure. Like, it looks like these leaves are pretty firm, but it's like losing the lower leaves, and they will just kind of die and fall off naturally. So let's test it with a water meter. It's telling me it's super dry. You know what? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this opportunity to propagate while it is dry. And I'm going to cut one of these. I've been meaning to do it. What one should we cut? I don't know. There was one that was loose, but I don't know. Maybe this one in the middle. So you could just cut these. I know, that seems crazy. Remove anything dead, check it, nothing's rotted. And then I'm gonna kind of just spread out the soil. So this one should grow back. I'm gonna remove this. This was a name thing, but obviously you can't see the name of this, so I don't know exactly what kind of Aeoniums these are. I can't remember all that stuff. I tried to keep track at first and then I quickly realized, it doesn't matter. So I'm gonna stick this in right here, make a hole, but I am not going to water this for a while, like at least 1 to 2 weeks. So now it could be more compact, but this one can still grow again. And I'll probably, if this doesn't die and this starts to take root here, I'll probably do all the other ones and stick them in so it can be more compact, but eventually we'll have a bunch of them because this should grow. So I'll have to do an update on that to see if that works out. But I have another one that I can show you that I did do that with. All right. Where is that other one? So the other one that I did do that with, this is Aeonium pinwheel. I do have the tag on this one and it is looking a little rough. I do think these need a little bit more water than your average succulent. And this one could definitely use like a better container. I don't love this container for it. It's like a whole tree. The dead leaves will just fall off. This, I don't like the look of. I'm gonna remove that whole leaf. And you can tell where I've removed leaves because new plants just start to form like crazy wherever I've removed leaves. It's nuts. Just grows like crazy. I don't even have any extra lights on this one. You know, this leaf, I think it's okay. So anyways, you can see these are firm. Does not need water. These leaves have no squish. Does not need water. All those dead leaves, I don't know, you know, it just happens. Maybe it got too much water when I did water it, or maybe they're just, you know, kind of natural process that the bottom leaves dry up and fall off for succulents. They use the water in the bottom leaves first. This is turning into a propagation video more than a watering video, but you can even see right there, a tiny new one is growing. So I had stuck all these in to the soil. All of these came off of this main plant, all here. Again, some of the white is like, maybe I thought something was going on and I sprayed baking soda or something onto the plants. They could all afford to be like possibly rinsed, but I'm not gonna worry about that. Anyways, same thing. Just find like maybe the lowest one, whatever one, like the lowest branch here. Ooh, I need sharper scissors. Oh, and this one started to root on its own. This one started to root, and now you could put this, I would, again, check it. Check for pests, check for anything rotting, gross, moldy. This looks decent. Do I want to cut that? I might cut that little root. I think that will become roots. Oh, and also one other thing, you might want to disinfect. I usually didn't, but if you're very worried about it, I spray these with alcohol, and I have a spray bottle of alcohol here that I'll use for mites or disinfecting my tools. So anyways, this one, these I don't really have luck propagating with leaves, so I'm just gonna put that in the discard. But this whole thing can get stuck in and it should grow. Where do we want it? So I'm gonna make a little hole here. This is very dry, so that's kind of the time to do it. when the plant is very well watered, like it has tons of moisture, but the soil isn't too wet, so it's not gonna rot before it can grow roots. And I would try to stick it as deep as you can. So, you can get like a lot of roots growing in the soil. There you go. That's it. Just don't water it for at least a week or two, and I would wait until you have like, you pull on this and it doesn't seem like it's gonna come out. I mean, don't pull too hard, but same thing. We could just remove any other dead leaves. And you want all of your containers to be very well draining soil, perlite, chicken grit, pumice, whatever you got, like 50, 60, 70, 80%, depending on the plant. And big drainage holes. All of these have drilled, I can't show you without dumping the plant, but have big drilled drainage holes with a screen so the soil doesn't all come out. So let's look at another one. Okay, so I could feel it. It's a little bit heavy still. I wish I knew the names of these. But anyways, I put a bunch of different cuttings in here to propagate. This medium, like peat or cocoa fiber, is the best for leaf propagation, or even like propagating like small little cuttings, because it can hold moisture, but underneath, I just have a thin layer of that. Underneath is the very gritty mix. It just makes it, so I could see here, these have some bend. I can give this water, but I'm not gonna go crazy with it, just because I can feel there's still maybe some water, like some, let's check it. It's saying very dry. Okay, I feel like we can water this one because of the leaves, the bend in the leaves. Dehydrated leaves collapse. Hydrated leaves are firmer. So I would just stick this in here. Oh, I have all my little things that can go in here too. So I stick it in the container of water to absorb from the bottom and the top. And I would also just water a little bit. I have a watering can here. Don't want the substrate to overflow. Look how fast the water goes down. So even though there's an absorbent layer on top, it's incredibly well draining. So I might just do that a few times. So this top layer is gonna retain a little moisture, so it's a great place to put tiny little rooted plants. They'll do better on this than in just regular potting mix, because this top layer is gonna retain a little bit more water here. You can just stick them on the soil. I'm not gonna remove these dead leaves until they literally fall. Sometimes I do, but you don't really need to until they're falling off. We have some room here. What is this? Does this have root? No, this one does. All right. And I know this is a little bit like different, like it's so hard to pinpoint because it's like, oh, well, you're watering it, but you said not to water. These tiny ones with the roots, this should be fine. It's just so well draining that I don't think any of this stuff's gonna rot. Sometimes it's just trailing here. And then if you can't get it in, you just kind of like stick it in too. And some will root and some won't, but you can see there's little, like this one. All right, that's good. Let the water drain. So this is a perfect example. These things are called like Christmas cactus or Thanksgiving cactus, but you can see there's a lot of bend here. Like it needs water. So we're gonna put it in the water and we're gonna soak it with the thing. And there are certain plants, even others, that if you top water them like this, they may just rot. So you gotta be very careful. You have to know the plant. This one I know likes a little bit more water. I know it's not gonna rot. It's in a really well draining container. Should drain through pretty quick. No, it's not draining very quick. And you could let this sit for a while because the terracotta will absorb the water and slowly like release the water back into the plant as the soil dries. All right, let's look. That's all right. That doesn't really hurt anything. It's just more annoying and messy. So I'm gonna put this one aside and grab the next one because I actually do have to quickly water all my plants today. Cactus. I almost never water these. I don't think that this really needs anything. It could sit for a second, but no. Doesn't really need water. Here's one. Ugh. Okay, this one, yes. It's hard because this one not so much, but this one, yes. I'm just gonna go ahead and water this one from the top as well because I'm not gonna be letting them sit. And you could see there are some like, with this, you could tell it's floating up. The water might be just going right around the sides. There we go. Now it's sinking in. And this one, sometimes they root, but they never make a plant. So we'll just see. This one needs to be transplanted. I don't know what's going on with this. These droopy leaves aren't the greatest. Here's some dead leaves. You can use the forearms or just your fingers. All right, that's good. I'll let them drip. Here's like a small aloe. Again, firm. Like these are really firm. This is not like in need of any major water. It does have dried leaves to remove, but those might have been from a previous time of drying out or just natural. All right, I'm not gonna pour water on this one because it seems fine. That's not gonna absorb anything like crazy, just doing that quick. Here's another little spider aloe. Okay, this one. Let's see. I feel like this could use some water. You could just tell they're like deflated. Some of them are firm, but you could just kind of tell some are deflated. Oh, there's water. And I often just let these soak, guys. I often don't do it this way. I was doing it this way more for the video so I could show you each plant, but I'll often just every week, 2 weeks, whenever I have time, anything that seems like it needs water, I'm gonna let it sit in a container. Sometimes I let it sit for a few hours, sometimes overnight. Just so it can like fully get like a deep water and absorb all the water it can. I do like quicker spot watering like this sometimes, but often I just let things sit in the water when they need it. That's the critical part. And each plant is different. Like really no two are the same because every plant is in slightly different soil mix, slightly different container. slightly different drainage, and just like, and then that individual species of plant as well has its own needs. And you could rinse this off, like if you don't like this, like dirt on the side. I don't care that much about it. I'll clean them every once in a while if that happens. That's the annoying thing. If you overflow the dirt, then it like sticks to the side of your containers, but I'm not too worried about that. Here's a small aloe. This definitely could use some water, and this is a little burnt. You can just tell aloes they surprisingly like bright indirect light. Please don't fry them. They don't like a ton of bright light. They're not gonna do well. This one is a little bit fried. You can tell the burn, like the brown. And these leaves are hard to pull off. You can just trim them. The dead parts, just go ahead and trim them. These dead parts aren't helping your plants. Like, don't be afraid to just trim them off. A lot of people want to like save every leaf. I'm like, just trim it off. The more you trim your plants, the more they're gonna grow. The less they're wasting energy supporting dead parts of the plant. All right. Okay, that's perfect. That is the tricky thing about doing the top watering. The dirt gets everywhere. So often I'll just let them sit and soak. So I'm not pouring water and having water get everywhere. Then I move around their locations in the window. I'll take some pictures. This is huge. What is this thing called? Tiger tooth aloe. This thing's a little burnt. You can see that brown. It's not bad. It's just, they don't like a ton of I get a lot of sun in my kitchen. But this definitely, I would say, yeah, feel this. It's like hair. Definitely need some water and definitely like a less bright spot. Just keep in mind, because you might have spots that are more shady. And other plants that could be switched around. Like I have this close to the window. These don't really love to be close to the window. I'm gonna put it in a different spot. No. And these all just came up on their own. It started off as one plant and then they all just came up on their own. This, I don't have a label on. I don't remember what this is. You know, this doesn't have an urgent need for water, so I'm not gonna pour water on it. You can tell it's starting to use the bottom leaves. Oh, okay. The bottom leaves are squishy enough. It's very light. The bottom leaves are starting to squish. You just want to make sure it's not because they were overwatered. I don't think they are in this case. I will add water here. And it's so small, this container is gonna dry out so fast that you're probably not gonna overdo it. And the terracotta is very, very porous, so it will absorb extra water too. You just don't want them like sitting in water in their clay pot, in their saucers or anything. I'm gonna put this back towards the window. It does have a bit of color to it. I'm just not as familiar with this plant to know if that's. Have this funky thing, lawyer's tongue. Let's see. This could use some. There's a little bit of give to it. This thing is very weird. It's like a big, thick, funky plant. Just let it sit for a minute. Again, if you find any very dehydrated plants, definitely just let them sit in here for a few what's going on with this one. Very, very, very light. Lots of dead, dried leaves. This thing I had transplanted. Oh, I just think it's in like dire need of water. This is one that I would definitely want to let soak. So I'm going to get it another container of water so we can keep working. I'm just going to set this aside in a dish of water so it could absorb more water. Needs definitely water. I'm going to pour in the water, and then I'm going to move it to that other container that I have to soak a bit. Yeah, see this? This is like dehydration, like a very thirsty plant. Although I would say these plants like that. Like they kind of start, like the more you neglect. I don't always believe in that whole like neglect your succulent things, but this is one here that will start shooting off babies everywhere when you neglect it and don't water it. It has too much sun. So this one's got to get in a bigger pot soon. All right, let's see if I can fit it. I don't know where all my watering containers went. I'm gonna pause this. It's easier to come. Okay, took a little break, and I'm just gonna kind of go through the rest of the plants more quickly, just so I can finish up because I have other things to do today. So I'm gonna put this one back. I'm gonna end up labeling this a water with me versus like a how-to. So here's one, so cute. Crassula. I can't make out the tag. Perlo something. So cute though. So dry. Like this needs it. Needs the water. You can see the bend in the leaves. I know it's a small container. I know it's in well draining soil. Crack these dry ones off. More plants are gonna probably come up, sprout here. And the tall ones of these, I'll grab it so you can see. So when these get too tall, like abnormally tall, you might like that, but I like to keep it more compact and more start to like bushing out. It's not gonna focus. I might have to cut this part out. These were tall, really tall ones that I cut and put into a new container. Just because I like tall, more compact. I can't explain it exactly, but I can tell these are all very well watered. And there's some other little friends over here that all seem good too. Maybe just right here. This one could use a little. And then this thing. I think this thing's doing okay, but I'll give it just a little bit. I might have to cut this part out. It's not gonna focus with this weird container. I don't think. Again, will it focus? Yeah, I think it's just, this I had transplanted. These are very finicky when they're small about transplant. It doesn't look great. You might think to give it water. I might give this water. It doesn't look great. Let's just test it. Sometimes if I'm unsure, I'll test it. Okay. So that's the thing here. There's a lot of moisture and let's just pull it up like 1 inch. It's not gonna measure the water from that bottom that quick. So I'm gonna leave this be. This is a deep container. Let's takes a while to dry, and the leaves are kind of giving me mixed messages, I think, because it was transplanted. We're gonna leave this be. I have a cactus here. Cactuses almost never need water. Like, honestly, I don't even know. I think they'll look a little funky if they do, but this is not, I can't describe it, honestly. Maybe like a little wrinkly or collapsed in some way, but this is not that. With a combination. This is like a jade. Seems fine. These all seem fine. Something here is kind of like not. I don't really know. Some kind of something. I don't really know what the deal is with that one. It's like totally dead. It's not falling apart. I'll leave it be for now. But other than that, everything looks good. These you definitely don't want to overwater. They're firm. I forgot what you call those things. You guys are going to hate me. You're going to be like, what is this? What is that? Unless I happen to keep the tag, I don't know. This is so adorable. Whatever this is right here. Love it. All right. This is like the genus Crassula. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. Like, ooh, okay. I don't mind it when that happens because this is a cutting. It's going to go in another container. It's a similar kind of plant. It's just these are much bigger. These are tiny. I love these tiny ones. This is going to go. This I'm just going to pick off the bottom leaves. And it's going to go right into that one that had the peat on top. So cute. I think it did dry out at some point. Oh, do I still have the bottom in this? Oh no, I don't. I don't know, this seems pretty good to me. I'm gonna leave this be. I think that's everything. One last plant. One last Aeonium. I'm gonna move this back. This thing I recently put in here. So we're gonna take off the dead leaves. These things love to shed leaves. If you know, again, I'm just newer to these. If you know what I'm doing wrong with these, or if that's just, I think that's just kind of their life cycle, to be honest. They like tend to sprout a million more flowers where the leaves fall off. They're not really flowers, they're leaves, but cool. I love these. They're firm. They're I think this is okay for now. Seems good for now. I'm not gonna go crazy watering this. So cute. This is another one that we can propagate, but do I want to? I don't know if I want to. I think I do, but I'm just not sure. These lower ones. Should I do it? We'll do it just for the sake of the video. I'm gonna spray with all my scissors since I was doing another plant. These are terrible scissors for that. They're just, smaller scissors are much better. Again, you can just cut it. Check for pests. Is there something going on here, but I'm not sure what. Check for pests, any leaves that fall off. Make a hole. a deep hole and stick it down in there. Cute. I could do that with all of them, but I'll just see how this one does before I do all of the branches. I would do this one, and kind of put them around the bottom. I'll just make sure that one does okay before I start doing all of that. You could do them all at once. And there's tons of videos. If I have time, I'll try to link some because there's some really, really good ones about how to propagate, all of that. All right. This has feet, so.